from Hooked on Homemade Happiness, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to part 3 of the Beach Day Cover-Up Dress Crochet Along. If you are just joining us, I will link part 1 down below, and there will also be the written pattern linked below for part 3 as well. So in the previous 2 weeks, we have made our 2 hexagons, our 2 granny hexagons to get started on our dress. So this week we are going to sew, and we're going to start making the skirt portion of our cover-up. So you will need a yarn needle and some scissors for this week. So we're going to go ahead and get started by just sewing. We're going to sew across the top shoulders, and then we'll do the front and back, sewing those sections together. So we're going to start just with one panel for now. So you can put the second one to the side. And we're going to start by sewing across the top, across the shoulders for one of our panels. So here I have my first panel, and I have my long end here, and I did go ahead and slip stitch my end all the way to my corner so that that's where I can start when I sew across the shoulder. So we have this facing right side out, so that means we have the right side of the stitches facing out as we sew, and we're going to be sewing a whip stitch in the back loop only. So that means we're going to be using the 2 inside loops of our stitches when we do our sewing. Go ahead and thread my needle here, and I'm starting in the corner chain 2 space. I slip stitched over there. I have the right side facing out, and I'm going to begin in this first chain here. I'm going to insert into the 2 inside loops. So here's my chain here. I'm going to insert in the needle into the inside loop, the back loop, and then here's the first chain on this side. I'm going to insert my needle into that, and then just pull it through. So now I'm on the double crochet. So here are the top loops for the next double crochet. Back loop only. Here's the top loops from the other side. Back loop only, the 2 inside ones, and whip stitch that together. Here's the next ones. So here's the top loops for this next stitch. Insert my needle there. Here's the top loops for the next stitch, the inside loop, the back loop only, and pull that through. So I'm going to continue that. Let's see. The next one, sometimes they can be hard to see, is right here because it's the chain 2 is my first one. And then there's the next one. So you're just grabbing the 2 inside loops so you can line them up and just see. So there's the 2 top loops from this stitch, 2 top loops from that stitch. We're just grabbing those 2 middle ones. And we're just going to do that all the way across. My long end, again, may or may not be long enough to go all the way across. If it's not, I will just join another piece of yarn and finish it up. So go ahead and continue sewing all the way to the other corner. So here I have sewed across the top shoulder area of the hexagon. And I went ahead and fastened off and woven my end on the inside here. So we have one shoulder side finished. So now I'm going to get my second hexagon. And here again, I will be starting in the same chain 2 space. So I went ahead and slip stitched over that chain 2 space so that I'm starting in the center here, and then I will whip stitch all the way across to the opposite corner. So go ahead and sew on the other side. So now I have both shoulder spaces sewn. So now I'm going to sew the back of it. So I'm just going to sew this entire length from the bottom all the way to the top. So this entire length, I'm going to sew these two panels together right down the center. So what I did is I cut a piece of yarn about two to three times the length of the area that I'm sewing. And I'm going to use that to sew these two panels together. I'm just going to go from the top to the bottom when I do that. So I've turned my pieces, so now I'm going to be working horizontally. I turned it sideways. So I'm going to take these two sides. I'm going to be doing the same exact thing. Make sure you're not sewing the other side. You're just doing this back side of it. So here where my chain two corner spaces, I'm going to match those up. And again, I'm just going to grab those inside loops for those chains right before the double crochet. Pull my yarn through, and I added a knot to the end of my yarn, just kind of as a stopper right there. And then I can weave this end in later. So there we go. There we're starting there. And then here's my next double crochet. Again, I'm just going to grab, the two inside loops as I sew these two pieces together. And I'm going to do this all the way down to the other side, to the opposite corner. So I sewed that entire length and I wove in the end on both the top and bottom. So now we're going to do the front. So I'm going to turn it over. And how we're going to do the front now, we're going to start at the bottom. And we're going to sew just about halfway up. Depending, you can adjust this however deep you want the V-neck to be on the front of your cover-up. You can adjust any length that you like for the front sewing. I'm going to go about halfway, so about where that corner is from the hexagon is about where I'm going to sew. So I'll join my yarn to sew, do it just like I did in the back here at the bottom, and sew about halfway up. So here I have sewed about halfway up the length of the front of my two hexagons. So now the top portion is completely finished. You can see it definitely has this kind of top sweater like shape. So that's completely finished. So now we are going to be moving on to the skirt portion of our cover up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it upside down. I'm going to be working along the bottom waist, I guess, area of my hexagons, and I'm going to join my yarn again. I'm going to join, so here it is laying flat. Here's the front. I'm going to join to a corner space in between my three double crochets. So I'm just going to pick this space right here. It's kind of on the side where my seam is going to be. So right here in this general area, I am going to join my yarn for the first round of the skirt portion. So I'm going to start with a chain 2 in this space, and I'm still working in between the double crochets. So now this chain 2 counts as a double crochet, so I'm going to do 2 more double crochet in this space here. So there's my first 3 double crochets here in this space. So now I'm just going to work 3 double crochet in each of the spaces between all the way around. And as you're going around, you're going to get to the space where the hexagons are seamed together. So here's that chain 2 corner space from this hexagon. I'm going to do 3 double crochet here. And then here is the next chain 2 space from the second hexagon, and I'm going to do 3 double crochet there. And now I'm just going to continue around doing the 3 double crochets in between each set until I get to the chain 2, the corner spaces on the front, and I'm just going to do this same thing again with the corner spaces that are on the front. So here I have finished round 1 of the skirt, and I joined to the first chain 2 here with the slip stitch. Now on round 2, again, I'm going to start with a chain 2, and I'm going to work 3 double crochet in this next space here. So we're not working the 3 double crochet in the same space as my chain 2, but we're kind of skipping. We're creating a space here with that chain 2, skip the next double crochets, and then 3 double crochet in the next space. And now we're just going to continue with 3 double crochets in each space around. So here I have worked those 3 double crochets in each space around, and here's the very last space right before my join. I'm going to put 3 more double crochet here in this very last space. And then I'm going to join to the chain 2 with a slip stitch. So they should be right next to each other here. And you should have the same number of double crochet from the previous round plus 1 more, because of the chain 2 that we have at the beginning is not included in the 3 double crochet groups. It's extra. So the same number of stitches plus 1 more is now what you'll have for the rest of the skirt. So now we're going to, for the row 3, we're going to kind of alternate what we're doing a little bit. So I'm going to chain 2. Now I'm going to work the first 3 double crochet in this space here, in the very, very first space where my chain 2 was from the previous round. So it's right next to that beginning chain 2. And now I'm going to 3 double crochet in each of the remaining spaces around all the way up to the last one. And we're going to skip this last space here. This will be our last 3 double crochet group for this round. So go ahead and 3 double crochet in between each 3 double crochet group all the way around here in round 3 of our skirt. And here is round 3 where I did my last group of 3 double crochets before the last group from the previous row. And then now I'm going to join to the first chain 2 here with a slip stitch. So to finish up our skirt, we are just going to be repeating those last 2 rounds, rounds 2 and 3 of the skirt. So this round here, where we're going to start with a chain 2 and just do the 3 double crochets in each space all the way around, and we're just going to alternate rows 2 and 3, so it just kind of has a change of placement of where you begin and end with your 3 double crochet group. So the next round you'll chain 2 and then 3 double crochet in the next space. And then you'll end in the very last space. And then the next round, your 3 double crochet will be in the very first space right next to your chain 2. So we're going to go ahead and repeat rounds 2 and 3 of the skirt to the correct row for the size that you are making, or until the skirt portion is the desired length that you are looking for. So here I have continued those 2 rounds of the granny stitch for the skirt section until I reach the correct row for the size that I am making, or until your cover up is the length that you are looking for. Add or take out as many rounds as you'd like to make this skirt portion the size that you are looking for. It for part 3. I will see you next week in part 4, where we will add some finishing touches to our cover up. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.